Welcome to Corrective Consciousness episode 252, the podcast where we explore the inanity of pop culture. I am your host, vysethebold, and this is...
Lotus Prince.
And we have another themed show here for you. This time we are going to be talking about not the Nemesis, but Nemeses.
I mean, we could include the Nemesis. In fact, we almost certainly will.
No. We're not going to talk about it.
We talked about this. We'll talk about this later. Anyway, back to the podcast. Yes, hi everybody. It's fine.
So you might be thinking, what the hell am I talking about? Am I talking just about the villains of gaming? No, I'm not, because in video games typically you have you have multiple bosses leading up to maybe a single recurring boss or something like that.
Yeah, you're chasing the villain typically.
Yeah. So
in a matter of speaking, they're usually waiting for you.
I'm just thinking of Mega Man. So you enter each boss's stage and then kill them, right? Same thing with Dr. Wily. I wouldn't consider him a nemesis in this case, because he's not stalking you throughout the course of the game.
That's the thing. I mean, you can say oh, Dr. Wily is Mega Man's nemesis. They hate each other. But yeah, the way you're using it, yes, someone who's tracking you throughout a good portion, if not all of the game. You're the one being hunted.
If anything, I would say that the side characters in Mega Man are more likely to be to fulfill the role. In that case, probably the first one,
Proto Man, yeah.
Exactly.
Although I mean, in the context of the video game, though, you have to find him in little hidden areas. He doesn't just show up, as far as I'm aware.
No, he does. He's in main areas. He's not in. He's in scripted spots.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would say that Proto Man or Base would fulfill this role. Later on in the series, it would be Base. Or Forte, as depending on what region you're from. Yeah. I mean, in Mega Man X, there really isn't one.
The closest I can think of, and this barely counts, but Bit and Bite in X3, sort of, not really. I mean, you face each of them once. They're not chasing you, but eventually you're gonna run into them. Across the series, maybe Vile.
Yeah, Vile. Okay, yeah, Vile. Vile I would count that.
You fight him once per game. Not in every game, but when you do meet him, you fight him once, maybe a second time as a secret fight, but throughout the series he's kind of oh, I'm back, or whatever.
Exactly. That's the kind of attitude that I'm looking for with a nemesis. So I really of course was inspired by the Resident Evil Nemesis for this topic, and I'm really inspired by Mr. X because that's the origination of the mechanics surrounding this.
Yeah, but in the original games, they were scripted encounters, but when you don't know what those encounters are, it really feels my God, he's stalking me through the whole game. In the remakes, they actually are more straight up stalking you, but Mr. X would bust through a wall to follow you, and you're oh my God, he's not chasing you, it's just, this is what he does in this scripted encounter. But again, you don't know that. Yeah. And Nemesis, you encounter, 7 times in Resident Evil 3, in the old one? He just keeps showing up, and it's freaky, because you're never really ready for him until, endgame. When you first meet him, you're not fighting him. I mean, you can, he has a drop, but, dude, you're not ready for that.
Yeah, I really wanted to bring this up because I really love the concept of being really afraid of a bad guy who just won't stop coming at you.
It could be anywhere.
Yeah, and somehow gets away, and then
you somehow get away,
or you get away. Yeah, exactly. And really, that's kind of a trope from maybe the slasher genre, the Michael Myers-ish kind of thing.
I was going to mention that specifically. There is a game that was inspired by a combination of 2 movies, maybe even more. Suspiria, the old one, of course, and I'm flaking on the other title. It might be Phenomena, or something like that. I have not seen that one, but
The one by the other director, the
yeah,
same director. I mean,
by Dario
yeah,
Argento. Your
yeah, yeah.
character looks like the character from that movie, but OG Super Famicom Clock Tower, like
Absolutely.
talk about a stalker. Like you don't know when he's gonna show up, and he has programming where he has different things you could do, and I think possibly every room of the game. Like I think you have to trigger certain things to activate him, but when you're playing without knowing anything, you have no idea what does that. There's a scene that is straight out of the first Suspiria movie where he comes crashing through a stained glass ceiling window. In the old movie, no, it's the same in this too. In the movie, like a victim comes crashing through it, but in the game, she comes crashing through it with him on top of her because he impaled her, and then he just crash on the ground. And you're like, oh fuck! It's like the scariest thing. There's stuff where, and this carries over into the PS1 games as well, where if he catches you, you have to button mash to push him off, but you lose the game's equivalent of health in that case. So if you're too low when he gets you, he just kills you. But there are certain cases where you can hide from him, but that may or may not work. There was one time where I was in a room with beds, so I hid under the bed, and he approached the bed and stabbed his scissors through it, missing me. But then I crawled out. I was like, like on a Super Nintendo game, like that's insane. I was not prepared for that. Similarly, when I own the game for real now, and when I let's played it, I was using the real disc, but I was emulating it back in college, and the stalker was chasing me, and I hid in a restroom, and you hear him tramping around in the restroom, and I'm in the stall. Hopefully he doesn't find me, and then he leaves. And then I think I went somewhere else and died differently, and I wanted to show my friend that, so I had save states. I reloaded the save state, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to trigger the stalker, give me a second, I'm going to run to the bathroom and hide from him. But I think the programming is determined randomly, because he just decided to kick open the door, and scared the shit out of me, he just killed me right there. So, like, you're supposed to button mash, but, like, I just didn't because I was stunned. I'm like, what? And he just killed me. It was amazing.
Yeah, I think that might be one of the earliest. There's stuff there's always something before. You could always say that kind of thing.
Well, I don't know how much this necessarily counts because I haven't actually played the game. I just know it's a meme. But the whole when you're wandering around in the dark maze, you were eaten by a Gru in Zork. I don't even know if they're necessarily stalkers, but it's just like you were wandering too much. You were fucking eaten. Like, oh, all right.
Well, I was gonna say before Clock Tower, you also have like the Friday the 13th game for the NES.
Oh, that's true. When you're in the cabin and it's Jason, and you enter a Mike Tyson's Punch Out boxing match with him.
Yeah, but that's actually like a rarer occurrence than like
it's still super startling. Like it's Jason. Oh fuck.
Yeah, because like he will come like he will stalk you while you're like traveling, and that's really what you're probably most
that's
afraid
how it works
of him.
In the movies. He just shows up and kills people in the woods.
And it's a shame that game is like so perplexing because
in theory that's a brilliant
it's
idea.
A brilliant conceit. They're basically the originator of that kind of thing in an action game. I can't think of too many games that were like that.
Even the concept of your friends being your lives. Like Sweet Home did that, but just the idea that you are actually a group of camp counselors getting killed off and you could be the last survivor. Or maybe you could all survive, but you could play it out like a movie where there's only one or two of you left.
There is Hunt the Wumpus before Zork.
Yeah, I've heard of that. The closest I can think of, I think I first heard of that like in Magic the Gathering. There's a creature called a Hunted Wumpus, and I didn't realize that was a reference the whole time.
Yeah, this is a game from 1973, if you could believe that. 1973, and it was text-based, but you were actually the Nemesis in this case, because you're hunting the Wumpus, but you're basically playing Battleship with it. So you are going around to the all the different caves in this grid, and this is in text based, so that's kind of funny. that you're doing it. So you have to imagine it all and keep track on a piece of paper.
Yeah, that's tough.
But you have to guess which of the caves that the Lumpus is in, because you have to shoot an arrow at the cave that you think he's in order to get him, or else if you land on it by accident, you get eaten. It's kind of more like Minesweeper than anything.
Yeah, that actually kind of is. That's interesting.
But it kind of has the same kind of fear going on that this does. I mean, you're chasing him down, but it's so dangerous that I would still, even though he doesn't move, I would say that this is kind of in the same spirit of this. And I can't think of anything before that. So certainly. So.
Oh, and by the way, when you talked about how you're a hunter hunting a certain wild animal, you reminded me of a much newer game, Sir, You Are Being Hunted, where there are robots dressed up like posh English gentlemen with rifles, and they're fucking hunting you like you're playing the most dangerous game.
Yeah, I kind of was interested in that, but I didn't know what to make of it. I didn't know what the
yeah, I haven't played it. I only know the premise, but I quite like the premise.
Yeah, I really love the concept of the Nemesis. I like the character that just won't go away. Yeah. So like, of course, this was inspired by Resident Evil Village coming out, Resident Evil 8, because it really takes that concept of the Mr. X, the more modern version that like Resident Evil 2 remake had of Mr. X, where he is not scripted. He will just fucking hunt you down, and you need to get away. And
yeah, I was going to mention a bit of an earlier version of that was Resident Evil 7, where the Texas Chainsaw Massacre family, like the different members of the family, are hunting you. Like, this is the father's area, this is the grandma's area, or whatever.
Mm-hmm. And they have like some kind of like ultra like healing power, so like their healing
to
factor.
Justify a headshot not immediately killing them.
Yeah, exactly. And so like even if you quote unquote like defeat them, they're gonna be back. So but yeah, this game really takes after that idea and concept in Resident Evil 8. I do not want to know much more about it other than that. Because it looks to be like it like a lot of people are really enjoying it. So I really want to get to that sooner or later.
You know what? Here's a bit of an interesting one. In the later games, you can actually move around, but in the original game, it was basically one screen where you're checking cameras, but everyone except for you is the stalker. Five Nights at Freddy's, where you're doing everything you can to prevent.
I thought you were going to bring up Night Trap, which is the same concept, but yeah.
Oh, I
a similar concept. A similar.
Yeah,
concept.
Similarly, it's similar. You're every time you meet one, you wipe them out. It's just that there's like 1,000 of them.
No, but I would say the Five Nights at Freddy's does count in this instance, and all of the characters are Nemeses.
Yeah, like everybody is a stalker, and you're like, oh god.
Yeah.
What else was there? I know there was something. I mentioned Clock Tower. Oh, I don't have experience actually playing this game, but there's a PS1 game that never made it to America called Hell Knight. Just Night, not KN, where you're going through some kind of maze and you're being chased by something. That freaking sucks. But I hear it's quite intense.
So I have a few examples that I put down here because I just thought it was fun. So I kind of in Sonic 3, I would say that Knuckles is your nemesis because he
shows up and push a button and
he shows up and impedes your progress. Yeah, exactly.
He's like the giggling like hee like can't get past now, and you're like, Knuckles, damn it.
He's like, god damn it, Knuckles showed up again. And fucked with my shit.
You're like, crap, it's that music again.
But and of course he does a heel face turn because he's too cool to be a bad guy.
Well, I mean, yes, but like it turns out he was being either
Manipulated.
coerced or outright possessed by Robotnik the whole time.
Yeah,
So that's
exactly.
when he sees Robotnik, like when you beat him in a fight, he's just like, ooh, like what happened? And then Robotnik shows up and he's like, hey, fuck you, man. And Robotnik like stuns him and leaves. So like Knuckles was never really a bad guy. He was just made to
Yeah.
be a bad guy.
But there's always been that tension element with the characters because they're rivals. Even the old Archie comics, they used to have a Sonic series and a Knuckles series. I used to subscribe to them and get them shipped to my home every month. But Knuckles' tagline was, if you had like the Uncanny X-Men, it was Knuckles, Sonic's friendly nemesis. Was that? So I thought of that when I was making this list. Probably my favorite early example is a game for the TurboGrafx 16 slash PC engine called Soldier Blade. This is one of the Star Soldier games. So and one of three Star Soldier games that are on the TurboGrafx PC engine, and one of my favorite shmups of all time. There is a bad guy that just will not quit. He shows up multiple times and then gets away, and he even says, "I'll be back." When you defeat him, so it's really a lot of fun when he shows up. You're just like, "Oh shit, this guy again!" And
Actually,
it happens.
you know what I'm reminded of? This it only happens once in the game, but again across a series like Vile is Team Starwolf from the Star
Oh
Fox
yeah,
series. Like
yeah,
it's you guys. Jeez. Like,
yeah,
even
exactly.
in 64, like great, it's Starwolf. That's amazing.
Well, in kind of that, and I really recommend Soldier Blade. It's probably the best Star Soldier game, if you ask me. But I will also put Ridley in this category. Like the
Oh
big
yeah. Oh my,
Ridley just comes
especially
and fucks
across the
up your day.
series. Yeah, Ridley's a piece of shit.
Ridley in the Metroid franchise.
Yeah.
He just comes and fucks up your day, and he's usually the most exciting boss encounter
Yeah, in
in
Metroid
any game.
Prime, I think it was 3. Or I forgot which was the one where you're fighting him, where you're both descending like a long metal
Oh,
shaft.
that's Metroid Prime 3, one of my favorite boss battles of
That
all
fight
time.
is way too good. Where like
It's so much fun.
you're both falling, but you're above him shooting down. Then he reaches out his arms and grabs the walls and like scratches the walls so he could slow his falling progress. So he gets above you. And now you're shooting upward. Like that's oh my god! I can't even believe they're doing this on the original Wii.
When I played that for the first time, I was like on cloud nine. It was like it was the same level of excitement as watching or Mad Max Fury Road. I was about to say Sam and Max Fury Road. Jesus Christ!
Ooh, that's a very different game.
But it was just like so energizing. It was just so
Yes,
much
it's
fun.
extremely intense.
It is not a particularly hard battle, but it's just so much fun
You're
and
so caught
exciting.
up in it.
Yeah.
Actually, I could say something similar for Eve from Parasite Eve.
Oh yeah.
She just keeps showing up, and like my favorite climactic fight with her, it's funny because it doesn't really look
You can
impressive.
even put Sephiroth in the same category, actually.
Somewhat, yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
like my favorite Eve fight, like it actually doesn't look very impressive when you're looking at the fight. You're like, okay, but conceptually, you're on a horse and carriage because those do exist in New York for like novelty purposes for like tourists and stuff. You're standing on top of the carriage. Eve stimulated the horse's mitochondria, so the horse has burst into flames. So it is just running wild because it doesn't know what to do because it's on fucking fire. So you're standing on a carriage that's just running wherever at 1,000 miles an hour because the horse is going top speed, and Eve is flying after you, matching your speed and shooting lasers at you. It's like, despite what I'm saying, it doesn't look very cool when you actually play it, but conceptually, that's like the greatest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah. I would also put Hollow Knight. Actually, I would say has a nemesis as well. The foolish guy. Who you have to fight several times. And he
I
just
think
gets
you have to fight him once, and it's hilarious because he like waggles his sword and like he goes down in one hit.
yeah, but like
There is a way you could fight him for real, and he's legitimately terrifying.
Yeah. Well, you fight a dream version of him.
Yeah, it's not even real, but like that fight sucks.
Yeah, and it's the what he believes himself to be.
Well, no,
it's what his girlfriend
true,
believes.
But yeah, it's what his fan envisions him as.
It's his girlfriend. Come on.
Well, no, it's really not. She's just
really?
a fan. I don't think he like. He's just like. I don't think he's romantically involved with her at all. He's just like, well, you see, I'm very brave.
That's not the impression I got. I don't know.
Not like if you talk to him, he's like, well, here are the 36 rules of being a knight. Rule number 1, you got to do this, and she's just like, oh, so cool. But each time you beat him, she gets a little less impressed. Like she starts like realizing what she's looking at, and eventually, if you beat him like 3 times, she just like, you know what, I'm gonna go my own way. So she's more of an adoring fan. I don't think he even.
Maybe I misremembered
picked up on a romantic interest from her. He's just like, well, you see, in order to be brave, you have to follow these basic steps. And he just goes on and on. It's amazing.
I really I'm trying to think of a character. I guess this doesn't have to be completely limited to video games, but the basically the teddy bear guy from Afro Samurai.
He is one of the maddest characters I've seen in a show in a while.
He becomes the antagonist
furious.
in the second Afro Samurai, but like...
No, well, you mean the movie?
Whatever Afro Samurai 2 is, whatever, the second part, whatever.
Because there's like 6 episodes of the series, and then there's the sequel movie, but I think wasn't he killed in the series at some point, eventually?
Yeah.
Because like the villain of the sequel is tied to him, but it's not him.
Yeah, exactly. But the end of the first part is just him collecting. He's collected everything, like all the stuff that.
That
all
wasn't
the bandanas.
Kuma. That wasn't Kuma. Kuma was fucking furious, but he wasn't the ultimate antagonist. That was Justice, voiced by Ron Perlman.
Jeez, I need to go back and watch it.
His line delivery in episode 1 is so good. Like, I've been waiting a long time for this. Like, I was just like, oh shit, this guy's gonna be serious. And he is!
Another one we have to mention.
So mad. Yeah, but go ahead.
From our past is Michael Jordan.
Yeah, I saw that on the list that cracked me up. Yeah, Michael Jordan in Charles Barkley Shut Up and Jam Gaiden, and his spray is Michael Jackson from Moonwalker.
It's so good.
There's more than enough actual Michael Jordan sprites to choose from, but
nope.
Including Chaos in the Windy City, which they actually do use enemies from.
Yeah.
But no, we're not going to use Michael Jordan. Freaking brilliant. That was the thing. Like, I saw a playthrough of that game. There were some dumbass enemies in Shut Up and Jam Gaiden, like the b-ball spider and like the coach's whistle.
Yeah.
But those were from that fucking game. They weren't Tales of Game shitposting. Like, those were legit enemies from Chaos in the Windy City. I could not believe... And even, you know the first boss, that monster made of b-balls?
Yeah.
Who just goes like, balls! He has no dialogue, but like, that was real. Like, I could not believe this shit. It was one of those cases where like I actually questioned my perceptions for a second. I'm like, no, this is dumb. It's from Shut Up and Jam and Gaiden because it's stupid. There's no way they're like a real officially released game on store shelves had this shit, but it did.
Yeah. I would also put your rivals in Pokemon as in this category as well.
Yeah, it doesn't have the same sense of like being a stalker, like, oh my god. But they do keep coming back.
In the first game,
well,
Gary
there isn't
just
that
keeps
sense of like, oh god,
him.
I hope he doesn't run into me. But yeah, he does keep running into you.
Yeah,
but he's more like, hey, smell you later, loser. And you're like, okay, fine.
But I wouldn't even
the sense
throw
of
them
being
in this
hunted
category.
though isn't quite there. I'm trying. I mean, he is certainly a rival, but like Stalker, I think it's by coincidence. He's like, oh, I'm in this area too, and you're like, ah, shit. Oh, you know what though? This is not for the whole game at all. It's just for the first act. But the spider in Limbo.
Oh yeah.
Especially because when he's nearby, you hear that rumbling, like when Darth Vader uses the Force in Star Wars.
Oh, and he keeps coming after you too. Oh my god.
He really does. Like, you take off a couple legs, that's not enough to stop him. No, sir.
In fact, he's still coming after you when he's down to 1.
Yeah, or like any of the enemies in their individual episodes in Little Nightmares. Like, there's no stalker throughout the whole game, but the long arms guy in episode 1, the chefs in episode 2, like they'll pop up every once in a while, and you're like, oh no.
And going along with the slasher horror genre inspired stuff, I mean, you also have Alien Isolation, which has a lone xenomorph stalking you.
That's one of the best examples of the stalker. That is,
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the first couple of acts are tutorial acts, but once the alien gets introduced really early in the game, it's the whole game.
Mm-hmm.
They're not script. I mean, there are scripted instances of him, but even outside of that, he could be anywhere. Is he an event above you? Look for drool coming out. Like, it's anything. And if he touches you, you're dead. It's so intense.
You can even say Among Us is like this as well.
That is true. If you are not the stalker, then who's the stalker? Is this guy following me for security, or is he going to kill me? Like, yeah, that is legitimately intense.
Yeah. Let's see what else here.
Yeah, I am trying to think of mostly horror stuff, but Among Us is a very good example.
The last example that I wrote down in preparation for this was Shovel Knight's Black Knight, which is absolutely in this category as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's not that fear angle, but yeah, he's a recurring boss who you get like, oh, I gotta deal with this guy.
Keeps showing up and keeps getting harder and more evolved. I would even say that.
Oh, I got a good one.
Go for it.
White Day, the janitor.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You ever see any of that?
Yeah. You showed me. That is terrifying.
Yeah, because what creeps me out is that despite being possessed by a ghost, he's still doing his job. So like, he will find rooms with the lights on to turn them off. I was basically playing the original game wrong because I was like, I'm so scared of ghosts, I better turn on the light. But that just brought the janitor to me. Because he's like, oh, the lights are on, that shouldn't be. But he will check doors. Like, he will systematically check doors, which I couldn't even believe that for a game that came out in, like, 2000, 2001.
It just makes me think of Scissor Man, especially in, like, the PS1 clock tower. Oh, my God. Yeah.
But, like, and the janitor, when he sees you, he points at you and blows his whistle, which just... Something about that creeps me out even more, because he's doing, like, the professional thing, but then he chases you with a baseball bat, and you're like, oh, no! It's and then
he beats
freaky.
you to death.
Oh, he will do that. When you first see the janitor, you're crawling through a vent, just because you have to get somewhere and the door's locked. It's like, shit, I need to go through the vent. And then you see through, like, some slats in the vent. The janitor finds some unnamed kid and just murders him right there, and you're like, oh! So that's what this game is. It's super creepy.
I would throw in Shiva from the Streets of Rage franchise as a nemesis, because he shows up several times. In every
like
game.
Once per game. Yeah.
No, several times in the third one.
What was it, twice? He's potentially a final boss.
Yeah.
You fight him early though.
3 or 4 times. Yeah. Because
it can't be that many times, could it?
He shows up on the boat in the first level, and then you fight him again.
Huh.
Yeah.
It's been a long time. All right. But yeah, in Streets of Rage 2, he's simply the second to last boss, and in Streets of Rage 4, he's like level 4 or 5's boss, and then he switches sides.
Yeah, I mean, I think these are all really good examples of that kind of thing.
I'm trying to think of straight up stalker stuff. I mean, this is cheating. Clock Tower 3. I mean,
yeah. Well,
and Clock Tower 2. I'm very clever.
I mean, you could say Pyramid Head. Absolutely.
That's true. Yeah. That again, all of his encounters are scripted, but you don't know that. So yeah, that definitely has a stalker vibe. That's a good point. That was low hanging fruit, and I completely forgot about that. The second half of Silent Hill 4 has Walter Sullivan every so often. Like, sometimes he just has a chainsaw, sometimes he has 2 pistols, and you're like, oh, nope. And he just, like, a gun in a Silent Hill game that I'm not the one wielding? Oh, no thanks. You get the hell out of there.
How about Amnesia? Amnesia?
Yeah, the creepy creatures. Yeah. That is a pretty good one, because you're not quite sure where he's going to be. Again, like, when you play the game a second time, you're like, oh, well, he's going to be in this room, but the whole idea is that you don't know the first time. So that's a very good example, and that's the quintessential hide from stalker because I can't fight. game.
Well,
You know, I mean,
Penumbra,
there have been
before
games like that before that, but that's like the one
yeah.
that put that kind of genre more on the map. I think more
Sure.
obviously on the map because it was on Steam.
You can even kind of make a case for Bioshock with the Big Daddies.
Sort of, but like, yeah, I kind of. They're not actively hunting you, and in fact, they won't bother
you're hunting
you.
them, really, honestly. By the
Well,
end
you're
of
hunting
it.
the little sisters, yeah. Like they will not even mess with you unless you interfere with the little sister, except for certain late game enemies who are just mad.
But the same kind of thing is there. They're recurring. They show up. They're powerful.
Yeah,
Um,
but they're only scary if you want them to be.
yeah.
I'm trying to think of other like. Again, this is more of like almost a comical recurring thing rather than a stalker. But Gilgamesh and FF5.
Oh yeah. I was actually thinking of
Remember
some
me?
examples from
Oh, okay.
from Final Fantasy. Like I said, I think usually I don't pick like the big bad for this, but I think the Sephiroth does count. In this kind of thing because he kind of just shows up sometimes and
Yeah,
fucks your
like
day
you
up.
only fight him as a final boss, but he repeatedly makes his presence known.
Yeah, and he has different forms as time goes on too.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of definitely in the spirit
Yeah.
of
And
what we're talking about.
there are certain ghosts in Corpse Party as well. Like it like this act has this thing to watch out for.
How
Yeah,
about
there's sort of that vibe, especially when you're Yuka and Kazami's chasing you. Like when a guy's actually chasing you in that game, it's pretty creepy.
is there anything like that in God Hand, like a recurring boss that you?
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
Deadly Trio and there's
Yeah.
Azel, but again, like there's nothing horror about that. The Deadly Trio is like they're actually one of the harder fights in the game, but they're comical. They're
Yeah.
actually the ones who cut off your fucking arm in the first place. That they're why you have the God Hand. And then Azel you meet twice, and he's the guy with the Leon Kennedy from Resident Evil 4 haircut with
Huh.
with douchebag sunglasses.
Douchebags.
You could call me the Devil Hand. Like, all right.
Please.
Elvis dies, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. Like, shut up, dude. Like, get out of here.
So funny.
He's so full of himself.
Uh,
The
love
Deadly Trio is tough, and they're like parodies of Duranjo's henchmen from Yatterman. It's like no one in America is gonna get that. I had to look that shit up.
I would say General Crimson from the Gunstar Heroes games.
Oh,
As well.
okay.
The guy
Yeah,
who
I'll
looks
take
like
your word
he's
on that
M.
one.
Bison.
Oh, okay. I do know who you're talking
Yeah,
about.
because he shows up and you're like, oh shit, what's
Yeah,
he gonna
he's
do
the like
now?
ha 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 like guy.
And
Oh,
and eventually,
speaking of which, Mr. Rambo Muscle Man wearing a bandolier with a machine gun from like the Metal Slug series.
oh yeah, Aaron, I think his name is.
Sure. I
think
mean,
his name is
again,
Aaron.
there's no stalker vibe. This is not horror. This is not scary. But like, it's like, oh, it's you again.
No, I think he fits the category because Nemesis is really supposed to be something that shows up like current.
Yeah,
Like
just in
concurrent.
terms of what Nemesis means, yes. But like in terms of Nemesis from Resident Evil 3, not really. So like, it depends on your
but like
interpretation.
I think it fits it because like we're
Yeah.
talking about like a singular character that shows up to like ruin your day every once in a while instead of just being defeated like once.
Yeah.
And I think that really does fit the spirit of it because like most games you kill a bad guy and they're gone.
Actually, that reminds me. Even in the Fatal Frame games, there are ghosts that are kind of more like bosses. Like once you encounter them for the final time and you absorb their spirit, like now they're actually gone. Like I was actually very disappointed that the later Fatal Frame games didn't have a visual cue for this, or if they did, I didn't know what it was. But normally when you kill a ghost, it just goes like poof. But if there are ghosts that are more like the Nemesis type, when you kill them, their little blue Japanese ghost, like a little blue fire soul, collects and goes like shung and like falls into your camera. It's out of the game now. So like those ghosts are each kind of a Nemesis. Like the blind ghost,
Mhm.
it's around every once in a while until you have to fight it for real, but you can like stave it off for a while early on, but like you got to put up with it until the time comes for you to shut it out. So Fatal Frame has its Nemesis ghosts. You might just not realize they are Nemesis ghosts. Like, oh, these normal types are getting harder. Oh, now it's permanently gone though. Oh, that was a tougher ghost for a reason. Got it. Because like there have to be ghosts that keep coming back so you can grind for experience.
We're also neglecting a pretty prominent example, even though neither of us played this, but
neither of us played this, huh?
Their entire
Porky from Earthbound, by the way.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say. Oh, that's a great example.
Zero horror, 100% fucking annoying.
Like also the most terrible person on the planet.
He is a piece. Actually, I don't know if you saw, but on Twitter, Ship to Shore, the record producing company, they tweeted out "Happy Mother's Day," and it was like a giant picture of pixely like Porky's mom, and you're like, motherfucker.
They also like they imply that they're beating him at one point, right?
Yeah, like I'm terribly sorry about our son. Come with us. We're gonna have a talk, and it's just like, and you're like, oh Jesus.
Like no wonder he's such a big piece of shit. He's been
there's still shitty parents, but like they made Porky, but like his own parents are just dicks to him too. Like it's awful.
But I was gonna say the entire marketing around this game was due to their Nemesis system, Shadow of Mordor.
Oh my god, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is an entire game revolving around this concept. You make a Nemesis out of the troll underbosses that you defeat.
And if you don't kill them, they keep getting like they increase in rank, or if they beat you and you respawn, like they've increased in rank, like they have more status among their faction, which is so clever. Yeah, like the orcs. Yeah, it's great.
Orcs. They're orcs. Yeah.
Yeah, because trolls you're not fucking with those. But yeah, the orcs. Like that's a brilliant idea.
Yeah, and they also retain injuries from what you inflict upon them.
Yeah, that's very clever. I don't think another. I mean, I think this is partly because it's
a very difficult thing to do,
or whatever you say, but I don't think any other game has done that.
Yeah,
it's like sanity effects, like they just belong to Eternal Darkness.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty unique system in the game, and that's why they copy it. You know, the two Shadow of Mordor games have that in it, but
that's so clever. That's so clever.
Yeah. Well, is it just the second game that has it?
I don't know.
I think it's
I don't remember how it works,
game.
But that's really brilliant.
Yeah, and it's a really cool concept too, and I think that's pretty good for an exploration of this topic. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of others that we're missing, but we got a lot of them.
Yeah, and by the way, people listening to this podcast, please feel free to mention ones that you like, because I very much want to hear this.
Yeah, and I like hearing like less heard about ones that are like this, so definitely
or even obvious ones that we missed.
Yeah,
that weren't as obvious as we thought they were.
Yeah, because we will read them out, because you know that I definitely
certain things in Dreadout. That fucking pig is just around.
Yeah.
Dreadout is just Indonesian Fatal Frame.
Yeah, I want to play that.
I still gotta play Dreadout too, because that exists now.
There's plenty of stuff that I can't catch up on everything.
I know.
All right, well, we should move on to fan stuff.
Sure. So Living Corpse left several comments. I'm gonna read off two of them. So this was regarding our comment about the Oscars and how horror like doesn't count unless there's an insane exception, like Silence of the Lambs.
Usually, it needs to involve a very famous actor.
Like again, the aforementioned Anthony Hopkins. But Living Corpse mentioned that when a horror film does win something at the Oscars, they go, "Oh, but it's a thriller. Big difference." So yeah, Silence of the Lambs. Yeah, like
that's a straight up horror movie.
Yeah, a thriller is meant to thrill me like a horror film, so it's pretty much the same damn thing. Yeah, they just refuse to admit that horror and sci-fi can be smart because they don't like them, even though Star Trek and Star Wars are like. Well, Star Wars is debatably sci-fi, but you know what I mean. They've been around since
Star Wars is almost a fantasy movie. Almost.
Star Wars is fantasy that happens to take place in space. It's literally swords and sorcery in space.
Yeah, exactly.
or a samurai movie. Terminator 2 won Best Effects and won Best Villain.
Oh, Terminator! We forgot to talk about Terminator.
Yeah, there's a stalker for you.
Yeah.
But Terminator 2 won Best Effects and Best Villain, but they'll never acknowledge that for an action movie, the story is surprisingly smart and not just dumb plot excuse for guns and explosions. Yeah, that's true.
It is.
It's like RoboCop. Oh, it's fun because Robot Man shoot bad guys, but like there's like intense social commentary like the entire movie, but nobody talked about that at the time, or at least if they did, I didn't know about it. And then another comment from Living Corpse is all this talk about cyberpunk reminds me how Guillermo del Toro considers Pacific Rim to be technically part of the cyberpunk genre. I could kind of see that. Although, I mean, like the sci-fi is what saves the day, though. Like it's scary monsters.
Cyberpunk is just future noir. I don't think so.
It's sci-fi, obviously, but like
it doesn't have the same sadness that comes with the melancholy.
Yeah, like would you call like Gundam cyberpunk? Like, no. I mean, Gundam is a negative reflection of war.
I would call Ghost in the Shell cyberpunk.
Yeah, Ghost in the Shell is hardcore, but like Gundam, it's like it's social commentary about war and how fucked up it is. It's not just robots go pew pew, but like I still wouldn't call it cyberpunk.
No.
And Pacific Rim is like, what if America made a mecha?
It's basically
movie?
kaiju, but without
kaiju mecha, you know.
Yeah.
And with all the mechs being run down instead of clean, fair enough. Run down instead of clean and shiny, like in most mech media. He coined the term goth tech.
I see
where he's going. It makes me think of like Alien. Like that ship is a piece of shit, and that was like a stark contrast from like Star Trek, where everything's shiny and beautiful. I don't know if I would call it a different genre though, just because it's grimy. Like I get that we expect our mechs to look pretty, and these, were just machines that time to break out the old mech again. Like I get it, but I wouldn't call it cyberpunk.
Noir, and therefore cyberpunk. Like the action happens at night, even if there's like daytime settings. Like its basic setting is at night, and with the rain,
I don't even mind the fact that it's at night. For me, it's more
it's
just
not
the
shiny.
attitude.
It's not new. It's not hopeful.
Yeah, I mean, again, you do have that bit about the mechs not being shiny Pacific Rim, but it's really the whole attitude. Like society doesn't suck because of corporations and the mechs. Like they're there to save society.
Yeah,
society sucks because giant monsters fucking showed up.
Like corporations and governments are the same things in Cyberpunk.
Like you do have a shitty government that's like, maybe we could build a protective barrier to stop the monsters, even though some of them have wings and we're stupid. Like, but that's not corrupt government, that's just incompetent government.
Yeah, I mean, Cyberpunk is very existential, and it's Pacific Rim is very fun.
That's literally what I was gonna say. Pacific Rim is a fun movie.
Yeah.
Cyberpunk makes you feel like, I'm glad I watched it, but now I need to take a shower.
Yeah, exactly.
Cyberpunk may or may not have a good ending, but usually it's like, if it's a good ending, then it's like, well, thank God at least we have that. Everything else sucked. Or sometimes it's outright a bad ending.
Usually the best you can hope for in Cyberpunk is as good as when you started.
Yeah, like in Police Knots, you straight up have a happy ending, which is like a
Unusual.
Shocking surprise.
Unusual,
and same goes for Snatcher.
Snatcher's
like, as shitty as that was,
too.
You save the day. Like, that's different.
But that's very Hollywood.
Do you really want to play a video game where it's like, well, everything fucking sucked, credits?
I mean, Blade Runner ends with like an even greater question, and then now you're fucked up by it.
Not to mention the very idea that like he just outright failed. Like the guy he was hunting had like beat him in a fight and saved his life because he wanted to complete his mission.
Yeah.
Like Harrison Ford straight up failed. He lived and the guy he was chasing died, so he won by technicality, but like he didn't win though. Like the guy he was hunting prevented him from dying and left on his own terms.
Only because he was dying and wanted him to live. And he was
Harrison
dying
Ford
because he was expiring.
Died, but yeah,
he wanted Harrison Ford to realize what he had, which was like he had more time than he did.
Yeah, that's what that whole Tears and Rain speech is. He's like, I've lived a life, even though it was short, and when I die, that's all gonna go away. None of you will understand precisely what I have seen and what I have
It's
done
going to be
because
wiped
that's
away.
what life means.
Yeah. And you need to cherish what you have
Yeah.
left.
I'm only 4. You have an actual life. Like, yeah, be aware of what the shit is. Don't just go around killing 4-year-olds, because that's technically what he's doing.
Absolutely.
So we have a couple more comments. Anthony Cooper says, I don't comment much, but I hope Vice talks about Invincible soon.
Oh,
Can't wait.
yeah.
And congratulations on 250. I know I'm late. Yeah, Invincible, I hear good things. I have not read it. I have not seen it. I don't know about you.
I read. I actually was. Actually picked up Invincible as it was just beginning, and it got really popular when we were in college. And by that point, the first the first issue became worth over $100, which is pretty rare for a newer issue to be worth like that.
Yeah.
And I imagine it's worth even more now that the general population knows what Invincible is.
Maybe it is, but I saw in Barnes & Noble there's a trade of the first bunch of issues.
No, I'm talking about the original comic.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is that you can buy the comic if you want to.
Yeah, you can, but usually that means that interest in the original issues has gone up.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I know what it's all about. I got to the moment, as it were. So I'm not going to ruin that for anybody who wants to. There is a moment in it, and you will know what I'm talking about.
The main thing I've seen is an endless meme of Mr. Mustache Man, like the main character's father, like J.K. Simmons, who has the J. Jonah Jameson like white stripe on the side of his hair, like haircut, where he like beat up the main character and he's like pointing at his own head with both pointer fingers, like, think, man! And it's just like a very exploitable image for memes. And I've seen that like where they edited the image so like it's different characters from different series, where it's just like pick a character that it would be funny to do this with. Like I saw like Neo Cortex doing it, the Crash, like, come on, man!
It's kind of unavoidable to avoid that. But I am not going to explain any of that.
It's like Batman slapping Robin, like that's been spread around forever. So this is the new one because it is very easy to insert your own message here with like, come on, man, are you even thinking? Like that pose is like just begging to be
always has been kind of
insert a million things with always has been. You can do it. It's no problem.
Yeah, but it is an amazing series and has an amazing moment where you go, oh man. But I really enjoyed it up to the point where I read it, and then I fell off of it. So I do want to watch it. I watched like the first episode, I think. But I want to go back to watching it, and hopefully with Lotus, because I do want you to see it. Because I think you would really love it. For anybody who doesn't know,
would.
This is the animated superhero show by the creator of The Walking Dead, Robert Kirkman. He wrote The Walking Dead and then Invincible. They are not related.
Maybe you could tell by looking.
But it takes place in not the DC universe, but it is kind of.
Oh, okay.
There are a lot of characters that are analogs to.
It's like Watchmen. Like, it's not DC, but like I know who all these people are.
I mean, the main character's dad is basically Superman. And the main there's also a character that is absolutely supposed to be Rorschach, or the Question, depending on probably the Question. He's supposed to be the Question, but he does things that are similar to Rorschach, but he's not nearly as dark. But
I was gonna say the Question is like Mr. Noir, but he, like, at least in Justice League Unlimited, he was kind of like amusing because he just goes full on conspiracy. Like, have you been searching through my trash? Don't flatter yourself. I search everybody's trash. Like stuff like that. Meanwhile, Rorschach will just murder people.
He's just a psychopath. And oddly, the hero of the story, which is like Ugh, like,
But even the more traditional heroes like Night Owl just straight up called him out on it. It's like everyone, like nobody contradicts you because everyone's fucking terrified of you because you're a nut. It's like, yup.
I mean, Night Owl is like the big problem with him is he's basically like completely powerless of what is going on in the entire story. He's just along for the ride.
Yeah, Night Owl is if Batman let himself go and was not a brilliant detective. He's just like, he's got the Batmobile and everything, but he's just like,
He's supposed to be the Blue
man,
Beetle.
I haven't been a hero in long enough. Like, do I still have the spark? Do I still have it? Like, that's Night Owl.
He's supposed to be like a combination of the Blue Beetle
Like,
and
Blue
Batman.
Beetle, yeah.
Yeah. So he's kind of like that, and he's the best way I could describe him is he's completely ineffectual.
Yeah.
And you think he's the hero, but he's not. And depending on who you ask, I mean, Adrian Veidt might be the hero, and you don't like it.
Yeah, like peace, but at what uncomfortable, unpleasant cost?
I mean, he's also a psychopath, so
Yeah, like that. Well, that was the whole thing. Like literally terrorize the planet, but to prevent world war, worth it?
Well, it's the train dilemma, right? The train track dilemma.
Yeah.
You're a psychopath if you choose either one. Is the problem? So yeah.
Yeah, I don't want everyone blowing each other up with nuclear bombs. So I know I'll commit selective, carefully selected, premeditated murders, and again, literally terrorize the entire world.
And explode the biggest city in America.
Yeah, to give people something to be afraid of. You how do I know this threat is real? Oh, it's real.
Yeah.
Also, gaslight Dr. Manhattan, at least in the movie. That wasn't as much of
They bring him back in the TV series, and he's played by Jeremy Irons, which is fantastic. I think
he's already played a burned out DC character.
That's true. He's really great as Adrian Veidt in it because he has the attitude.
I want to watch the Dungeons and Dragons movie again because that is the most energetic, like wild performance Jeremy Irons has ever given, and that includes.
He's really good as Scar, and he's great as
yeah, but I mean, he is
Looney
Tunes as the villain of Dungeons and Dragons. He is hilarious, and he knows it's hilarious.
Sure,
like he like the Red Letter Media people said, he knows exactly what kind of movie he's in, and he's having fun with it.
He's a ham.
He is a ham. Oh my god. Like some of that acting, it's like, I bet you he would look at that today. Like, Will Smith looks at his performance in Fresh Prince and he's like kind of cringing through it.
Yeah.
I bet you Jeremy Irons does that for Dungeons and Dragons. It's like, I thought it was fun at the time, and it was, but I wouldn't do it today.
Well, how's that for a discussion on Invincible?
Yeah, so anyway, that was my opinion. That was my essay length opinion on Invincible. And Dracologist makes a good point, although I have not seen this, so I didn't think of it. The whole Cyberpunk thing brought up, and nobody mentions Johnny Mnemonic. I have not seen it, but good point.
Yeah, I mean, that one is actually by Dave Gibbons. It's probably the only thing that's been adapted into a movie from David Gibbons, actually, which is kind of funny because it's one of his short stories, not one of his novels.
Well, again, Watchmen, created by David Gibbons.
I'm sorry, William Gibson. I'm so sorry.
Oh, William Gibson.
William Gibson, the founder of Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
The guy who made what is it?
Well, he did do Androids.
Neuromancer.
Neuromancer. Well, did he do? Oh no, never mind. I was gonna say Blade Runner, but that was Philip K. Dick.
Yeah, and that is the precursor to Cyberpunk. It is not technically Cyberpunk because it's about robots. Not.
The Gibson is what they had to hack in Hackers. Hackers conferred for Cyberpunk.
Oh yeah. Like all the terms like the Matrix, and all that stuff. It comes from Neuromancer. Like all the stuff that you know of from Cyberpunk comes from Snow Crash and Neuromancer basically, and the other books of William Gibson.
You know what I'm actually reminded of? There was a Piers Anthony book called Kilobyte, Kill, where there was somebody causing a lot of havoc in what we would today probably call some kind of MMO where it's like a virtual world where I'm a fantasy character, and I don't know how this game would actually work if you really thought about the programming and stuff like that, but it kind of made me think of that,
Mm.
where there's just shenanigans going on in this virtual world and how it ties into the real world. This guy's affecting my bank account because he hacked me. Like, oh fuck, like, stuff like that. It's kind of an interesting read at the time. I don't know how well it holds up though. It's been decades since I've read it.
You know what is a series that I forgot to mention during our noir discussion?
Yeah.
Tex Murphy. I forgot to talk about this.
I haven't touched those, but yeah.
Yeah, those are they're like future noir, but not cyberpunk.
Yeah, it's just 1940s, but like in the future.
Yeah, but
It's like Batman.
without all
like
the hacking.
Batman is 1940s, but in the 90s.
But without all the hacking.
Yeah.
You can even throw in Shadowrun as
Oh
part
no,
of
you
noir,
could
too.
definitely throw in Shadowrun, like
Yeah.
without question.
Because it is cyberpunk, but it's also more noir than cyberpunk, if you ask me. Like even though it has a lot of the tropes of cyberpunk, it is a very noir setting, but with fantasy added to it and cyberpunk added to it, which is pretty cool. But yeah, we should move on.
All right, so we have a question, which I don't know how long we can really dwell on this. It's a quickie, but Living Corpse asks, does this mean the Queen Xenomorph from Aliens is a Disney princess now? Because Disney bought, what was it, Fox or Warner Brothers or whatever the hell?
It was Fox. Warner Brothers is still a part of the AOL conglomerate.
All right, so my pedantic answer is no.
No, she's a
because
queen.
She's a queen, not a princess. Yeah, but her brood are princesses. So the generic xenomorphs, I don't know the difference between male and female for xenomorphs, but the female ones are Disney princesses. So we have witnessed Space Marines machine gunning to death many Disney princesses. This is literally true.
I would even say that they might all be female because they all have the ability to reproduce.
Oh, you're right, because they put the face hugger and the eggs. And all right, so yeah, so we have witnessed the deaths of violent deaths of many Disney princesses.
Yeah, I don't
but to be fair, the Disney princesses themselves are violent and nasty.
I mean, you could. I mean, it's more interesting to go into the other possibilities. Like you have Anastasia, it can be a Disney princess, right?
Yeah, that's the movie that people were like, "Is that a Disney movie?" No, technically it's not, but now it is.
Yeah.
Anastasia, which is weird, by the way. It's
a
weird
Don
and
Bluth
off-putting.
movie.
Yeah, but it's weird and off-putting because Anastasia Romanoff was a real person.
Yeah, and she died, like unlike in the movie.
Yeah, it was a very famous
like tragic
tragedy.
Death. Yeah. There. Let me see here. There's the biggest one is probably Princess Leia. You could probably
Yeah, of
say
course.
that she's a Disney
Yeah.
princess. You know.
Oh, you know what? By the way, it's still in the Alien universe, but that human alien in Alien Resurrection that saw Sigourney Weaver as his mother, and it died tragically in one of the most brutal deaths I've seen in a movie in a long time. Not in terms of blood and gore, but just like
Brutal.
what it entailed.
Yeah.
Disney princess. Assuming it was female.
Is Dr. Frankenfurter a Disney princess because it is now a Disney property?
Is Dr. Frankenfurter royalty?
I don't know.
just because you're a woman doesn't mean you're a princess.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Well, you had a lot of people saying that is Tim Curry from Rocky Horror Picture Show a Disney princess now. Obviously.
Well, the question is Dr. Frankenfurter a princess of any kind, so that would count as a Disney princess? Well, I'm thinking no.
Well, Dr. Frankenfurter is from transsexual Transylvania, but I don't know what Dr. Frankenfurter's status there was.
Also, not even necessarily human. Like they're like space aliens.
They're
aren't
aliens,
they?
yeah.
Like this human, this person. It's fucking weird, dude. By the way, again, I knew this from Red Letter Media, but the guy who plays him, Riff Raff.
Riff Raff was the creator of it. Yeah.
Yeah, he was. Oh, come on. He was like the leader of the Thieves Guilds. That the main character, whose name I think was Ridley or Ripley or whatever, had to run through like the 3 challenge rooms in the Dungeons and Dragons movie.
Oh, really?
Like that
Wow.
was him, and I had no idea for
Riff
over
Raff
a
was in
decade.
there.
Yeah, he was the guy like, yes, you have to go through the challenges. Like again, he knows what kind of movie he's in, so he's like, I'll be a ham in a different way. Ooh, yes, enjoy the challenges. Go. Let me drink my wine. Like it's great.
um, yeah. Let me see. What else did Fox acquire? Or
Yeah,
did
Disney
Disney
acquire.
acquire by getting Fox
Well, I
and
mean, well,
Star Wars?
all the Marvel stuff too. Like there are
Sure.
Marvel princesses, I'm sure. I just can't think of them off the top of my head.
I guess you could say that.
Oh, Hela from Thor Ragnarok.
I was gonna say what's her face from Guardians?
Gamora.
Gamora. Yeah,
I
Gamora.
wasn't 100% about that. I was thinking about that, but is Thanos a king?
I mean he's the leader of what the the moon of Jupiter. What
Well, Titan.
Titan? Yeah, he's the leader of Titan.
Is he?
Yes,
I knew he was from there, but he's the leader of it.
he's a leader of Titan. Yeah, sure.
All right, I'll take it.
I mean, just like Apocalypse.
Yeah, all right, fine. I'll take it. I'll take it.
Darkseid's the
So
leader
that
of
would also mean
Apocalypse.
Nebula then. Nebula as well.
Nebula would be a princess. Yeah.
By the way, as bad as Nebula's life is, because it fucking blows, at least she didn't get the comic treatment in Infinity War, because that fucking sucked.
Well,
Do you know what happened to her?
no, I don't.
It was so bad because you know the whole thing in the comics is that Thanos is an incel who wants Death to notice him, senpai.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "Why are you impressed by this? Perhaps?" But it's like any '80s villain. It's like Hokuto when Shin captures Yuria. He's like, "I offer you wealth. What does this make you love me?" And she's like, "Dude, you fucking like beat up my boyfriend and kidnap me. No, I don't fucking love you." But like, you know how he just doesn't
Sure.
get it. So Thanos is like, I've literally arranged planets and spelled your name. Am I cool yet? And Death is like, go away. He's like, what does it take, man? But so when Thanos got the Infinity Gauntlet, he's like, I've made a completely unique creation. You're gonna love this, because even you, who is literally Death, even you have never seen this shit before. And he had Nebula like in a state of half living, half death, and her face was all fucked up. I'm like, this sucks.
Yeah.
So it's just like, here, Nebula's in a condition that even you've never seen before. You like me now, Death? And Death is like, dude, go the fuck away.
And Gamora has the guilt imposed upon her, which is terrible too. So of seeing her tortured and
Oh yeah.
all that too, in lieu of her, which is insane. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna torture somebody because
Thanos is father of the year for sure. Like there are some shitty fathers in media, like Gendo Akari.
Gendo Akari is number one.
Thanos is up there, dude.
Gendo Akari. Oh well, Darkseid is really bad father to two people.
Oh well, Mongol, right? Who's the other one?
No. Well, he. So
Mongol's a piece of shit.
so Darkseid.
Doesn't he have like a good son, like who hates him?
That's what I'm trying to say. He did the gangster swap with the Good Planet, right? So he traded Orion got
That's
shipped
who it
over
was,
there.
Orion.
So
Okay.
he's a bad father for shipping his son, his biological son, to the other planet in the first place. And then he receives an adopted son who is Mr. Miracle in return, and it throws him into a fucking pit and says, "Get out of it."
Jesus.
So Mr. Miracle's whole deal is that he can escape from anything because he escaped from the impossible thing.
Well, that's like Doomsday. Like nothing kills him because he's been killed 1,000 different ways.
Yeah.
Like when he was created, and
they
that's
keep
why he's a
regrowing him.
rage machine, because all he knows is death and rebirth, and that process has to fucking suck. He's literally been like ground into a paste and I think literally vacuumed. Like that's insane. Like no wonder he has no thought process anymore. Like you wouldn't either.
I love the name that they gave Mr. Miracle to. Like the Civi name, what or his alter ego.
Oh, I don't know this.
Oh, it's hilarious. His name is Scott Free.
Oh, that's great. That took
Because
me
he
a
got
second.
off
That's
scot
great.
free. Yeah.
Is it spelled Scott like the name or Scott like the word?
COTT. Yeah.
Okay, so like the name, but that's very clever. I like that.
Scott. Yeah.
And
Um,
that's clever.
yeah, Mr. Miracle is awesome. It's a shame that he doesn't show up in a whole lot of stuff until recently.
Sure.
He was a creation of Jack Kirby for his tenure for all of the famous stuff, all the famous bad guys that like in the DC universe that are like apocalyptic level.
Yeah.
Bad guys are basically Jack Kirby characters. Like Darkseid is like the biggest bad guy in the DC universe, essentially.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, he's what I got his entrance in the Justice League Unlimited show was so good. Do you remember how that came about?
no, I never got that far actually.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
because there was a point where Lex Luthor fused with Brainiac and became like a super villain, and you might have seen the clip of this, but Flash had to like use the Speed Force, so you might have seen that like GIF of him running through the world, and it shows a first person perspective of like now it's Egypt, now it's the jungle, now it's the ocean, and then he runs all the way around and just punches Luthor at like Mach 1,000. He beats the shit out of him. And Luthor's just like, oh god, so he's defeated. In the last arc of Justice League Unlimited, Luthor's just becoming obsessed with re-finding Brainiac. And he's like, where is he in the universe? I must find Brainiac. I gotta get him back. That was so cool. I gotta get him back. And he finally locks onto this signature in space. And he's like, this is it. This is it. This has gotta be it. No one else could be like, this is it. Everybody, we're going here now. And they open it up, and it's Darkseid and a bunch of goons, and Luthor's like, and like him and the entire Legion of Doom are just like staring, and Darkseid's like, hey bro, thanks for saving me. You did me a big favor, and for that I grant you a very quick and painless death. And just blows them the fuck up immediately.
Wow.
But it turns out that Sinestro saved them with a shield.
Of course.
But Darkseid had already left. So that was like one of the coolest moments in the whole series, because there's just a knock at the Justice League Tower's door. There's just a knock at the door, and Superman opens it, and Luthor and every villain from the series is just at the front door, and they're like, we have a problem. It was so like every villain teams up with two heroes to make sure they don't fuck around, and just everybody versus Darkseid's goons, and Superman versus Darkseid because no one else is fucking fighting Darkseid.
Yeah.
It's great because Darkseid uses his Omega lasers on Batman, who keeps dodging them with his ninja skills until he throws what are the demons called? Parademons? He throws one of the parademons in front of him, and Darkseid accidentally fries his own demon, and he's like, wow, nobody's ever actually evaded my Omega beams before. I wonder if your friend will be as lucky. And he looks at Luthor, and Luthor's like, oh, fuck, I'm not doing that. It's great.
So, yeah.
It is a brilliant set of episodes.
Yeah, so, a Disney princess, for sure.
Yeah. The obvious Disney princess. Yeah, but yeah, and of course this is DC, so none of this counts.
Yeah, none of this counts.
We gotta go back to Marvel.
Yeah, I mean, there are princesses around, but yeah, I mean,
yeah, every single xenomorph. Let's do that. Except for the Queen.
Yeah, actually, I'm trying to think here. No, that was Spaceballs a Fox production as well?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that was an MGM. That was MGM. I specifically.
Okay. Good question. Good question.
Spaceballs. Yeah, but I'm trying to think of other things that could.
Yeah, other reaches.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, obviously, Disney Princess is like a tightly controlled like environment.
Yeah.
They have put Pixar characters in that, and typically there's not much crossover between Disney and Pixar.
Yeah.
Even though they are the same company, they kind of keep them separated. But like the princess from Brave is a Disney princess.
Oh, sure.
As told by what the second Wreck-It Ralph movie. She's hanging out with the rest of the Disney princesses, so she is one.
Yeah, that was a pretty amusing. Like, I haven't seen the movie, but I've seen that little scene. It's pretty amusing.
Oh, it's really good. I really enjoy that. That movie was really good overall. I actually really I like both of them quite a bit actually.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I mean, you know, it's amusing to talk about, but I could see them acknowledging Anastasia at some point, maybe.
Yeah.
Just because like that fits. I mean,
That's still. I mean, like they made the movie, but it still seems like sensitive subject matter.
well, also, like I don't know if people realize this, but the reason why it looks like a Disney movie is because a Disney animator made it after defecting.
Yeah,
So
Don Bluth. Yeah.
Don Bluth was one of the lead animators for Disney. He made the original Pete's Dragon, for instance. You could see his style very clearly there.
Yeah.
So like he was fed up and went off and formed his own thing and started making Land Before Time and all that. Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of Nim and what are the other big ones?
Yeah,
An
and then
American
they had to
Tail.
call her Mrs. Brisby in the movie because they realized that after the fact.
Yeah. And it was just called The Rats of Nim, I think, the movie.
The Secret of Nim.
The Secret of Nim, that's right.
Yeah, the book was what you said it was.
Yeah, because I read it. That's how I.
Yeah, I read it in like 5th or 6th grade or something. Yeah.
Yeah. But like he made An American Tail as well.
Yeah, it was a brilliant one.
Whole bunch of really famous movies. I still think Titan AE is the biggest like shame. Like nobody knows what that movie is.
And you would never guess it was a Don Bluth movie.
Yeah. He had a couple clunkers. There was like The Troll in Central Park and
yeah.
But there were a couple of other really good ones. I mean, there was All Dogs Go to Heaven. That was a big hit. That had a few sequels. So basically anything with Dom DeLuise in it was a hit. But yeah. Oh, he did the animations for Xanadu. Ugh.
Oh, jeez.
The one of the worst movies of all time with Olivia Newton-John. Ugh. But he made Rockadoodle. I forgot about it. Thumbelina.
Oh yeah, with the main character named Chanticleer. Sweet 1300s
references.
Middle English reference, bro.
yeah, exactly.
All the little kids love the Canterbury Tales.
Yeah, so but Fox only made Anastasia, Bartok the Magnificent, which is a spin-off with starring Hank Azaria as Bartok, and Titan AE. So only those are Fox movies and therefore Disney movies. So the rest of them are Sullivan Bluth movies, as it were. So he was an animator on Robin Hood, the Fox Robin Hood.
Oh yeah, I could kind of see that. Yeah. Now that like I'm picturing it.
Not Fox the company, the animal.
Yeah, the animal.
Yeah.
The movie that was made of foxes. But yeah, so to answer your question, I would not consider the Alien Queen to be a Disney princess.
She's a queen.
I would consider every single other alien to be a Disney princess.
Yeah, I don't even know. They might
all those aliens you kill in the beat 'em up, Disney princesses.
They might not even have a gender because they reproduce. They reproduce by infecting you.
That's true.
Except for the queen. The queen lays eggs, but
that's a good point.
I
don't care. It's fine. They're princesses. They're all them princesses.
Every single one.
you're horribly brutalizing princesses. That Alien versus Predator SNES beat 'em up, killing Disney princesses.
Like tons of them, scores of them.
Yeah, with your shoulder laser cannon.
as the future version of Dutch, the character from Predator.
Yeah,
the Arnold character from Predator.
Oh no! In the Alien versus Predator, you're playing as a predator.
Well, there are 2 predators and I think 2 humans.
Oh, excuse me. I mean the SNES beat 'em up, not the arcade beat 'em up.
Oh, the SNES beat 'em up is terrible.
Yeah, you're just straight up a predator. But yeah, in the arcade beat 'em up, you got humans and you got predators. Yes.
Yeah. All right, that is the show for this week. Please remember to subscribe to the Corrective Consciousness YouTube and Soundcloud pages. While there, please give us thumbs ups, likes, and 5-star ratings on iTunes. And let's get some questions going. It helps promote and spread awareness of the show, and any bit of encouragement helps keep the show going. You can also catch us on Thursday for our sister podcast, Corrective Consciousness, the podcast where we explore the inanity of pop culture. I just read the wrong thing. Oh, God.
Redo the entire cast. I want to get this all in one take.
You can also catch us on Tuesdays for our sister podcast, Reactive Consciousness, the in-depth look at this week in our lives. That was right. Finally, you can friend me as vysethebold. Oh, please don't punish me.
Please don't punish me. You could follow me on my YouTube channel, Lotus Prince. You can hit me up on Twitter at Lotus Prince. And finally, if you are interested in seeing my videos early, getting in on exclusive live streams, selecting upcoming games for me to Let's Play, or getting in conversations with me and other patrons on Discord, then perhaps consider swinging by my Patreon account, which can be found at patreon.com/LotusPrince.
All right. Well, we will catch everybody very soon on Tuesday.
Until next time, everyone.
Bye-bye.